a Jesus of Nazareth or not as a historical figure without the divine element. Just as Julius Caesar, you mentioned Shakespeare earlier, Julius Caesar was definitely a historical figure, but we shouldn't look at Julius Caesar, Shakespeare's play, as documented history. So, what about the claim that Jesus was a human historical figure, a real historical figure, minus the claims of divinity?
Yeah, that's a plausible, and that's really apart from the theory that I think is more likely true, I think there's two explanations that are plausible. That's one of them. So yes, certainly the gospel Jesus, the amazing, super famous, miracle-working Jesus who does weird things, that Jesus didn't exist. All mainstream scholars will agree that Jesus didn't exist. But the mainstream consensus still so far is, with just a few exceptions, there's about 7 of us who are doubtful of it, but the mainstream consensus still is that, but he was not famous, he was not a miracle, not genuinely miracle working. Like all these stories, a lot of them are made up. There was some dude, like he was just an ordinary guy that got all this legendary stuff piled on top of him. And I think that's a plausible theory. And in fact, in my book on the historicity of Jesus, I only take that theory seriously. I only compare that theory, the mundane Jesus theory, with the alternative origins of Christianity theory without a Jesus, and I compare and contrast those two. I do not try to even argue that because the amazing gospel Jesus didn't exist, that therefore he didn't exist at all. I don't think that's a valid way to argue. So in the book, I just dismiss the amazing gospel Jesus as not a relevant comparison. We're trying to look for what is a mundane, secular, believable, credible historical Jesus, and can we hold that up? Does the evidence support that? And that's actually the debate we should be having, and that's the debate that I organize in my book.